Definitely the hardest video I've had to do since I started putting these videos out there. Welcome to Collage of Health. Thanks for coming today. Man, I've got so much I want to say, and I really want to say it in such a way that is not divisive or triggering for people, but I'm triggered. I'm very triggered. So I'm going to do my best to maintain a center and to come from a place of loving kindness and peaceful awareness. Um, so to start, I just wanted to talk about Collage of Health and how it came to be. I had a private practice for a number of years in Asheville, in addition to working at many different places. And then in the last few years of the practice, which I closed in 2021, I really honed in on just seeing people there and not running around town at different facilities and doing all kinds of contract work. And over the years that I was in Asheville, I had quite a few clients who were in addiction. They either primary addiction or secondary to their mental health. More often than not, the clients I saw who had addiction and were in recovery, it was their primary problem. And I worked at a place in Asheville. It was a wilderness place that treated people with addictions. I was their prescriber, and many of those clients stayed with me who stayed in Asheville. And in 2020, I had many clients in Asheville have died, have succumbed to death, who died from heroin or opiates or fentanyl. I mean, it's just known fact that this has been a problem throughout the country. And it was definitely a problem in Asheville. And I definitely had clients who died. Some of them just disappeared, never came to follow up appointments. And some of them I knew died, who died. Two of which died in 2020, right before I decided to close my practice. And it wasn't the reason I closed my practice, my private practice, but I did feel a sense of disillusionment with the system and with the hopelessness of the situation. And also, I closed my practice because I was sick of telling people what to do. I felt like I didn't really want to take on a responsibility of writing out a care plan for someone, even though I always worked in collaboration with them. I felt like it was a responsibility I just really didn't want to do anymore. And I wanted someday to be able to educate people and them to kind of figure things out for themselves. And hence, that's how Collage of Health started. But just to kind of back up to those clients that died, one of the people who died was a young man. He was probably, I don't know, in his early or mid 20s. I started seeing him when he was 18 years old. I'm going to call him Smile because he was a kid who was always smiling. He always, up until the last time I saw him, he was always upbeat and happy and just seemed to take life kind of lightly. Even though he had had hardships, he just had an air of happiness about him. And he was a heroin addict. He was a polysubstance user. He used multiple substances. Heroin was his what you call a DOC, his drug of choice. And he yeah, he maybe 4 or 5 years before he died, had a near-death experience, an NDR, where his heart stopped and he was resuscitated. I think he was mixing heroin and cocaine, and he cardiac arrested. And there was some damage to his heart, but fortunately not a lot of damage. And the people who took care of him said, "You were very, very lucky. That was a miracle you lived. You know, that's your last break. The next one, you're not going to be so lucky." And it when he came in to see me, I knew spiritually that that was true and emphasized that to him. And he acknowledged it. He didn't seem to take it with the seriousness it seemed to deserve. I didn't think. I'm sure he's listening to this now, so I'm hoping I'm doing justice to his story without giving any, and without mentioning his name. So, just to continue with the name Smiles. So in 2020, he had to have a surgery that was painful, and they did prescribe opioids for his pain, and he did relapse. And there was another factor that, well, of course, the isolation with 2020, I'm sure didn't help. But there was another third factor that interplayed, um, a negative force, I think, in his life, a person that also, I think, in tandem was responsible for him relapsing. So he relapsed and he came for what was his last appointment with me. And he wasn't the same. He wasn't Smiles anymore. He was someone who had gone to the underworld and came back a different person. He was jaded and yeah, he was different. He was just different. And I think he was sober that day. I want to say he was sober that day that he came to the appointment. And then he left and he relapsed the day before he was supposed to see me a second time in 2020 and died the day before he was supposed to come for his appointment with me. And you can imagine how tragic that was. I actually met with his mom shortly afterwards. We went out for coffee and she gave me a picture of him. And it was a picture that was very close to the time he died because it wasn't the picture of when I first started seeing him in 2013. It was an older picture, or he was an older person, more closer to the time of his death. And I still have the picture in my car. I don't know why, but it's still in my car. It's in my glove compartment right now. I actually had it out, but I put it in my glove compartment. Maybe when I drive by some of these kids who are looking for money, I'll pull his picture out and tell them his story and have them listen if they want money from me. They got to earn the money from me. And anyway, the second kid who died was very anxious, nice. All the kids were nice, but this kid was pure soul, like just almost too pure for this world, it seemed. Um, he was clean. He was in a halfway house. I put him on as many meds as I thought were appropriate, what I could. He wasn't on methadone or Suboxone. I didn't prescribe those drugs. I think that there's definitely pros and cons to them. In the beginning, I thought there were more cons than I do today. Um, just knowing how many people do succumb to death with, heroin and fentanyl these days. Anyway, this kid worked in a grocery store, got frostbite. He was working in the freezer, and he hurried off to the emergency room for pain medication treatment for his frostbite. And they were all too willing to give him the pain med, which precipitated, I believe, his overdose and relapse into heroin, fentanyl. So the reason I'm mentioning this is I think I want to correlate what I did in the past to what I'm doing now and not tell people what to do. And it's really easy for me to say, this is the prescription to follow. But I do believe that I want to educate people. I want to educate people on any kind of health that I am aware and knowledgeable of. and feel like I have you know, a voice for. And I also want to educate people on what I get in the Akashic record without unduly putting my own spin on it. Yet at the same time, I feel there's a responsibility for some of the stuff that I'm getting and kind of a clear vision of some of the meaning of it that at times I would like to share this. So that's why I think this video is so difficult, because there's been epiphanies that have come up for me as I've watched past videos. I think it's just really ironic that I was called to do these videos and to share information, and then I deemed it Akashic weather report when we had a hurricane, you know, and a few of the videos hint at, I believe, the hurricane and maybe even why the hurricane came through. So I'm just going to leave it at that and just mention 9/11 and 9/15 being two of those videos that to me were very illuminating. And just, you can take a look at them if you want and come up with your own interpretation. Um, I want to also say, I do want to give, I just want to say that I do believe that there are forces that exist in this paradigm that want us to be drugged, enslaved, and or asleep, permanently asleep, or just asleep. And what came through yesterday was the drug trafficking that's coming through Venezuela, and that is coming through the Panama Canal as one super hub. And I was curious who the allies to Venezuela are, and China's one of them. And it's just interesting to think that the people who are snowed on these drugs are young people, able-bodied people, especially males. And to have your strongest, most able-bodied population asleep certainly behooves foreign lands that would like to take advantage of that. So let me just say that. I also want to say that I think that there are powers that be that are here that also have these nefarious intentions. And I, yeah, I'm just going to say that. And I want to tell a quick story about something that happened when I was working as an NP. So this is a direct story that it's not from the Akash and it's not hearsay. I had a client, I don't actually remember if it was the one younger kid I mentioned. I want to say it was, but I want to say it wasn't. I'm not sure. Anyway, I saw this kid. He had been a person who was going to go to jail for their crimes, whatever they did with drugs. And the way they got out of it was they were going to give information to the feds so that they could, get probation. And so they gave a name of a pill mill doctor in, I want to say Greensboro. I'm almost positive it was in Greensboro, North Carolina. And it was a woman. And the feds said, oh, we won't touch her. we're not going to go after a doctor. Give us other names. And that kind of goes along with the movie, The Pharmacy, that, that the medical system and the pharmaceutical system or the pharmacy system weren't touched during this hellacious period of this epidemic. Now, I do know that there are much more stringent laws in place. Hopefully, they're not laws that are just bureaucratic BS that the honest prescribers need to navigate, while the nefarious ones are free to do their shit. So yeah, I wanted to say that because I needed to get that off my chest. I want to say one other thing. I went to Huntsville, Alabama. I was able to get away for my birthday, as I talk about in the that September, I think it was the September video. Like, I got some information about what sounded like the hurricane, crystal rain coming through, and you're not going to be able to get out of the way. And I said, I just want to go away for my birthday. It's in October. Will I be able to go away? And I was told pretty much, yeah, enjoy yourself. You should be able to go away for your birthday. And it's interesting that the hurricane actually made it possible for me to go away for my birthday, in that the woman who watches my dog is usually not available, but was available for pretty much 2 weeks. It was gone for like 8 days. And she was only available because she's normally working during that time. So I went to Huntsville, Alabama, and I went to the NASA museum, which is amazing. It's really cool. And what I was really curious about is the museum stops showcasing things up until the 1970s. And I'm curious why in the NASA museum we don't have modern day discoveries. All the discoveries are what we knew back then, not what's going on now. And I think that there's a lot in space that is happening that maybe they don't feel like we can hold as, new information. But I truly believe, and this is coming through in the Akash, that all that's out there that's maybe being held secretively, some people might call it theories, will be revealed. And some of those theories might not be real or right, but each of us has to disseminate theories within our own selves and our own integrity and being integral with God. And I was talking to a guy who worked for NASA, and I said, man, I know there's probably, I didn't know he worked for NASA when I was saying this. I said, man, there's probably so much more that they know that they're not telling us. And he goes, oh, no, not really. I go, oh, yes. He goes, oh, no, not really. And I go, oh, yes. And he looked at me and he goes, do you work here? And I was like, no. Anyway, I wanted to share that too. All right. I think I've said enough. What do you think? Just gonna look through my notes and we'll go over the Akashic weather report for the last 3 days. October 18th, I was being granted the rite of passage. A shield, it was yellow. I'm lifted above earth, taken to an empty room. I'm at a candle vigil. Theodore, get off the table. I'm at a candle vigil with other light workers. The heartlands are next. Fools will parley no longer in the depths of their own despair. The Catholic Church, sacraments of rites, of passages, the 7 chakras, Sacraments relate to the 7 chakras. The process of ascension. Opened a sewer capped. So many secrets. I see myself going into an attic. I feel like I can be safe there. And they said, you're safe in your heart. I see an Asian leader, like a dictator. It feels like he's from the past, Hirohito. Atrocities against fellow man, snakes in the grass. What can we do? Read this, the situation in Asheville. They said, you can leave. Kind of decided to stay, at least for now. Things will play out soon. Unconscionable acts continue to play out on the world stage. I see a music box from my childhood. In dying, we rise. Samsaras, all is found within. Samsaric patterns, victim, perpetrator, perpetrator, victim. We're caught in the web of victimization. No need to search outside of yourself. Do not be afraid of what is to come. It is the design of the Creator that you have been put in this place and time in your lives. Impasse, storm wall. Have a wall of faith to match. Do not be afraid. The time will come of the second sun, SUNSON. The sun will come to support the one within. Gold and silver again. Good move to have purchased. Warships, planes, Rock of Gibraltar, Africa, Tanzania, precious metal, cargo ships, freight, smuggling, fentanyl. Write it down. Coming in through mainly Venezuela is a big supplier. Then Timbuktu comes up. Timbuktu is an ancient city place in Africa. It's come up for me before that Timbuktu is a real place and you'll return there someday, which I thought was so interesting when that first came up for me years ago, back in 2018. I was in an herbal class and we were doing a shamanic journey without medication or pills or anything, or without drugs. It was just, she took us through this journey and Timbuktu came up. It's a real place and you'll go back there someday, which I researched. I yearned for Christmas from the past. It felt palatable. Need to leave the past behind. Metal energy, the mind, Aquarius. Practice telepathic mind activities. Activities to control and center the mind. Honduras. Sea wave, sea to shining sea. Kansas, Oklahoma. Peace flag in Europe. Saudi Arabia. I saw something about how Saudi Arabia has offered to host a peace talk between the Ukraine and Russia. I'm going to try to remember to put that into the notes. Because I thought that was interesting. It was positive. C, mining Asheville for resources, want to know the name. Asked over and over, Jesus says, sister, they know not what they've done. Walk away, do not dwell in the sewer of anguish. Write and teach. Leave your mark this way. The 19th, you're back, fairies. Almighty Creator, peace and love. The light of Jesus from the council to God realm. Help open the truths. All truths rest within. These can be accessed anytime. Many small truths, many lies, one great truth. Jesus said to me once, and I think I've mentioned this in previous videos, but it's worth mentioning again, the truth is never divisive. So there's going to be many truths, many lies, many truths. Truths are not found by arguing with each other. Truths are only found by holding what is true for you within. And that is, if you're in integrity with God and you're holding a truth, it's probably the truth. And if you're holding a truth then hopefully it gives you a sense of peace and peacefulness. And gives me a sense of peace and peacefulness. Gives us both sense of peace and peacefulness, right? Um, the vortex of despair, horse galloping, Paul Revere, the British are coming. The map of life, your life is housed sacredly in your hand, on your palm. Look within for your inner map. Obama, make your house pretty, refine your living space. The day will come when winter arrives and will stop people in their tracks. Harkening to the past, Soothsayers, One Love by Bob Marley, separate the forest from the trees. This will be necessary. Floodgates will open again. Be prepared. Trinkets of memories from the past will come back to haunt you. Be aware. All things will change. Nothing stays the same. The winds will pick up again, high seas. There will be a stopgap in time. Beings will be held above the earth. Warplanes fly by. Jesus brought me to the void, God's space. I see a baby which represents new earth. This will supersede all else. The planes will come to a halt someday. Warplanes turn into beautiful blue spaceships. The earth is like air. The earth is like an arena below. So I saw this like spaceship, the warplane turned to spaceship, and this arena being surrounded by light workers. And then I was told the Panama Canal is the route where a lot of this super drug trafficking of fentanyl is coming in through. I get a sense, so it kind of goes negative, and then I get a sense that I'll see the end of all of this in my lifetime. And then I'm told to have a wonderful day. On the 20th, which is today, read through the Akashic again, all of it. Silver and gold comes up. Come all ye faithful, joyful and triumphant. Political factions will lead the show. Stand clear. Night will become day and day will become night. Hearkening to yestermorrows, write it down. A queen soars above. Taking cover isn't necessary for you. I see myself climbing up a ladder, marching orders, nefarious forces upon you, cloudy days ahead. How long will they last? For eternity on the third dimensional paradigm. So I guess this paradigm might ascend, but there will be other, sounds like third dimensional paradigms out there that people can parlay in if they so choose, or if we so choose. Soldiers marching in, harvesting the resources here. 7 dwarfs going into the mine. I wrote mind. 7 dwarfs going into the mind, not mine. M-I-N-E. Interesting. Hi ho, it's off to work we go. Innocent, seamlessly so. I see the Ice Queen, one and the same. A new shift, a new paradigm. Jesus says, let's leave this paradigm, sister, go against the wind, go to a scene of Jesus' birth. I hold the baby, cord around its neck. I cut the cord, the baby cries. I hand the baby to Jesus and go to the void. A new chapter, God tells me, a new page will turn. Beware of imposters, snakes in the grass. Silver feels good to buy. Puerto Rico, Holland, Rock of Gibraltar, Warsaw, Poland, I guess, Hungary, planter warts. The name Eric Schumacher, grave decisions, hearkening to past, be aware for treason, care packages, peace in your heart. That's it. That's all she wrote. This was a tough one to put out there. I'm not even sure I'm going to put it out there, but if I do, thanks for joining me and thanks for staying to the end. Questions, comments. This is my reality. This is very much might not be yours. This is also not meant to cause any inner angst or outer angst. it's meant to share my truth and to challenge you to go in to yourself and your own integrity and find your own inner truth, because really the truth is only held within, not outside of us. Thanks for listening.